to Judge Andrew Napolitano now, our senior judicial analyst. Your thoughts on the larger Manafort issue and what it means to the Trump administration as a whole?
I think it's perilous for the president if Manafort is indicted, because the standard MO of federal prosecutors when they are after a so-called big fish is to indict people in the circle of that person, even on unrelated matters. Whatever the indictment of Manafort is likely to be, and I think one is likely coming, it may have nothing to do with the president and nothing to do with Russia. Doesn't matter. They will be holding this sword over his head and will use it as an instrument with which to try and flip him into becoming one of their own witnesses against the president, and they have other potential targets for that as well. So I think this is very significant.
Other targets, you said?
Jared Kushner and his real estate dealings in New Jersey are under very heavy scrutiny. General Mike Flynn, we know, is also under heavy scrutiny as well.
Outside of indicting, there's another possibility. That is that the subjects at hand would turn state's evidence.
Well, that would be the goal of the indictment. So, for example, if Paul Manafort is indicted for a crime, the maximum penalty for which is 20 years, they will say, we'll reduce your exposure so that your maximum penalty is
or give you immunity.
Or give you immunity. And, of course, they can give immunity involuntarily, as you know, in return for your testifying truthfully against the president and others, and particularly with respect to Russia.
The suggestion is that they already know what they need to know. We now know that there was a late-night raid on Manafort's house. We already knew about that. We now know that they picked the lock so to get to his bedroom door before he realized they were there, in an effort, apparently, to keep him from hiding or otherwise making unavailable documents.
For a judge to sign a search warrant permitting a pre-dawn raid without a knock, where the defendant is not a violent person, we're not talking about a drug dealer here, and where the defendant has a lawyer who himself is a former Justice Department official cooperating, correct, means that the FBI satisfied the judge that they believed that Manafort was untrustworthy and would likely destroy evidence. That is the very, very narrow circumstance under which they would permit that almost Soviet-like attack on an American citizen under cover of darkness.
How serious is this becoming for the administration in your estimation?
Very serious. I think this is a very bad week for the president if you combine it with what else we learned, that his two private lawyers sat in a restaurant in Washington, D.C., and discussed openly among them the defects in their case. Unknowing to them, within earshot, was a reporter for the New York Times. The New York Times printed this as a front-page story. None of it has been denied. So Bob Mueller, the special counsel, now knows the defects in the president's defenses because his lawyers were blabbing about it in the public restaurant.
A lot of the president's supporters say, they were throwing him off. That's not what this was.
I don't think so. There have been no denials of this, and it's very bad. It shows that there's a clash between the personal lawyers representing Donald Trump as a private person and White House legal counsel representing the presidency. And who's resolving those disputes? General Kelly, and he's not a lawyer.
Judge, thank you.
You're welcome.